Hey everyone, in this video I'll show you how to install new brake pads onto your Brembo brake caliper. This works for any 4-pot Brembo brake caliper. They're all about the same design. So to remove it, the tools you'll need a hammer and you'll need a couple of punches. I like to have a larger one to hit it back in and a smaller one to push it out through here. Take off this rear spring clip here, hit out these pins and then pull out this line, and then we'll pull out the pad. Start by taking this rear off here. So you lift that spring up here, lift it up here. Keep that in a safe place. If yours is rusted, replace it. Then using a punch, we'll go ahead and tap these pins out here. They should slide out freely. If they're not slide out freely, then you would have to replace these or get them turned up on a wire wheel. So using a grip pliers like this, and just using a cloth so you don't damage your caliper or scratch it. Use the grip plier, put it in here between your pad and compress both sides of the pistons. So compress it there. Make sure you keep an eye on your brake fluid level as well, just in case if you have topped it up. Once you've compressed it, then these pads will slide out like so. If yours in similar condition, and just check the seals. You don't want to see any chips or any cracks or any holes in the rubber. What you want to do is you want to go in there with your wire brush and just clean up the areas where the brake pad runs. Clean all of that first. Give this whole thing a wipe down and then blow it with compressed air or something similar. So before installing new brake pads, you want to make sure you either get new hardware. So that's the pins and the spring clip, or you just want to give all this a good clean like I've done here already. Give this a good clean with using some brake cleaner. Once you've given it a good clean, the next step is to get some brake lube or something similar. You can use copper grease if you really need to, but I prefer brake lube. Lubricating the brakes. Now on the Brembo systems, you just need to do the edges. So what I like to do is just add in a little bit here. This might look like a lot, but I'm going to be spreading it out. And I normally like to use a little brush or something similar. You just brush it on. Don't worry about the extra, I'll be moving it again. So you want to do both sides, because this is where it glides on the caliper, because this is a fixed caliper design. You only want a thin layer and never get it on any of the braking surface. Just the edges where it sits down at the bottom as well. And you can also go ahead and apply it here on where the pistons sit. Once you're done lubricating them, go ahead and slot it in there. There's two ways you can compress the pistons. You can either stick your screwdriver in there onto the brake pad and push it against the disc and compress it that way. That's fine if you're changing the rotor and the pads, so you can go ahead and do that. But if you're reusing the rotor or if you're reusing the pad or something similar, that's not a preferred method. What I normally like to do is get a clamp similar to this, put it in here at the top and just compress it. So this will compress there, that side of the piston, this will compress this side of the piston. So you're basically on the steel tops. And to prevent any damage to your caliper paint, you can use some rubber, a cloth or a piece of wood or something similar, something soft against the caliper so you don't damage the caliper when compressing it this way. I've got some good videos where I've done a similar 4-pot brake change. You can have a look at that. Link will be down in the description if you want to see the full process on that. So now that we installed that one, we'll go ahead and install the other brake pad. So that's just how I add a little bit of lube on the shim plate at the back there. I also like to add a little bit of lubricant, so a little bit of brake grease or brake lube onto the glide pins, just a little tiny bit. not too much. It helps prevent rust, and it also helps the pads glide on it a little bit easier. If you put too much on here, you'll accumulate dirt and dust. So remember, just the key is minimum amount, so just a really tiny amount. You can even add a little bit here on the spring as well, just a little tiny bit. I don't know if you can see that, but that's really a tiny bit. You shouldn't be able to see it. You should only feel it. Then what I like to do is, I like to put in the top pin first, the top. I like to slot that in, and tap it in place. This is where the bigger punch comes into play. The bigger punch sits on the back here, and then you can just tap it in a bit easier. When you hear the change in noise, you know it's fully seated. So coming in here, it's fully seated in there. So now we'll go ahead, and I like to put the bottom clips just started in there. So just start it. Take note of how your spring clip went in when you took it off. Go ahead and put your spring clip in there like so, and then you just got to use a bit of force and just bend it back. You can use the same bigger pin punch if you find it a little bit difficult, and just push it against the spring clip. And that's it. So that's how you install new brake pads on a Brembo 4-pot brake caliper. Just for reference, if anyone needs to look at it, how it's set up, that's how it looks. And when you're done, you can either bleed out the brakes or just press the brake pedal so that it compresses the brake pads back into place, because obviously you would have pushed the piston back, so you need to push the brake pad back into place. Some of the designs have just one bleed nipple, some of them have two on either side. Just depends what make and model car you have, so just follow that procedure and bleed out the brakes if it states that it needs to be done. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope this video was of some help to you. Please like and subscribe.